as verse 15, as it continues, says, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters, which usually mean great or powerful. All right, but his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, is describing his skin tone also, because when you put anything in a furnace and it's burnt past tense, what color does it comes back in? What color does it remains at? Black. Sad reality, eh? So the more we go into it, the more you realize, hey, it's not what you think it is, eh? So let me go into this one here. Right here, no wait. I had it somewhere here and I'll pass it. So where is it? Oh, I missed it right here. Right, and his feet like unto fine brass as they burnt in a furnace. This is fine brass as if burned in a furnace. This is what it would look like. Right there. Look at the skin complexion of the one below. Tell me which one looks like fine brass burnt in a furnace. It clearly isn't the image on the left side. That's why there's a X off there. So could you please understand and could you please understand? Please understand, Salakia, that this is direct. So when we go and we show you, when we explain to you, when we go back in the history, everything lines up from Shem or from back to Adam or even Noah, because many people say that Noah was a whitey man, and that was described in the book of Enoch. It would be impossible for Noah to be a whitey man and all his children came black. That makes that he get horn. He get horn. It is impossible for Noah to be a so-called white man and all of his descendants came out dark skin. Then he get horn. Or somebody is lying. The book of Enoch is a pseudepigrapha, which is falsely attributed works. It's a false book. The time of Enoch, there was no written text back then. Make it make sense. It was taught down through generation and generation by word, by teaching, by allowing them to do so they could understand. These are common sense things, you know. You could just look at yourself, check it yourself, check the timing where Enoch would have been and see for yourself if that was taking place back then. So let's try not to lean onto our own understanding. Let me get that preacher before you continue. This is Proverbs chapter 3 and verses 5 to 7. Trust in Yahweh with all thine heart. Lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. Be not wise in thine own eyes. Fear Yahweh and depart from evil. Be not wise in your own eyes. This is why we continue to go according to sound doctrine. Isaiah 8 and 20, because it ensures us that we remain in the line of sound doctrine and doesn't stray to leaning onto our own understanding or thinking we are wise in our own eyes. Remember that right there. Let's continue. Alright. So let's go into the readings now as we continue. I don't know why my phone doing that now, but you can't play. You can't afford to play right now. We have lessons to get done. Right, so go back into the ancestry, which is why I put also one of the reasons why Yahweh would have been described how dark skin, shaggy or woolly hair being. And it says exactly the description fits perfectly with everything we have been tracing. Here's how it all lines up. Yahweh was 1st century Judean Jew, described from Shem. Shemite is in the Levant. In the Levant were dark skin, brown eyes, and curly to wavy hair. See? So historically, it makes sense that he had dark skin and hair that could be described as shaggy or curly or wavy, not tightly coiled hair of sub-Saharan Africans, nor the straight hair of Europeans. Therefore, the image, I'm going to add this and say it because it's true, the image depicted in your church of a whitey man or so-called white man with not brindle, a brindle hair coming down to his face, long, and his beard and blue eyes. It's an idol. It's called a made-up image, part of the iconoclasm to sway the minds to believe in them being the true children of Israel, the true people that serve the Father, so that they can have a higher stature than the rest. Let's keep, and this would show you, and let's keep going. It says, so historically, it makes sense that he had darker skin and hair that could be described as shaggy or curly or wavy, not tightly coiled hair of sub-Saharan Africans, nor the straight hair of Europeans. As we continue, if you could continue in part 2, cultural and environmental context. Living in the hot Levant, darker skin is adaptive and expected. Hair texture also matches ancestral Levantine Semitic, often described as shaggy in ancient texts or by observers from other regions. Biblical and extra-biblical description. While the canonical Bible does not give a full physical description, some historical and traditional sources include later Jewish and Near Eastern texts describes him as a dark skin with dark hair, which aligns with Shemite features. This also ties to early church recognizing dark-skinned leaders like Simeon, which were called nigger, and Barnabas, of course, and also associating dark skin with Israelites of the Semite line. So as far as I have been speaking, all this information being brought out have been vaguely accurate, historically aligned, historically accurate, biblical standpoints. This is what I go for. Nothing but the absolute truth. No bias, none of the above. Let's keep going. So, because my question, so why do they now have the fake white skin with blue eyes and straight hair depicting as a Messiah? Now we go into some information here. I will read. As European artistic influence during the Mid-Ages, the Renaissance, most depictions of the biblical features, including Yahushua, says were created by European artists. Notice it says the Renaissance period, where the Moors and the white man tapestry, where the white man came back from the mountains after 1,000 years, and what did they do? Due to diseases and illnesses and brute behavior, they were able to won over against the Moors, and from there they begin to gather many resources, and won many strongholds, which Alexander the Great is one to provide that information because it's written in history. But because we like to ensure that you understand, let's go into it also. It says, 1 Maccabees chapter 1 and verses 1. Important for historical understanding. It happened after that Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius the king of Persians and Medes, and that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece, and made many wars and won many strongholds. What did he do? Made many wars and won many strongholds. So you see what I'm saying is not a lie so far. And slew the kings of the earth. He slaughtered them. He put them beneath him. He slew the kings of the earth, that is other nations and their rulers, the ruling side of rulership at the point in time. He made himself, along with his people, the Edomites, who called wild man back then, on top. And went throughout the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, in so much that the earth was quiet before him. They was afraid. Whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up. And he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations and kings, who became tributaries unto him. So you see what he did? Now let's continue and go back into what I was reading. Let's give you a brief information so you can understand what was taking place back then. So it says, during the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, most depictions of biblical features, including the Yahushai, were created by European artists, which is why they could have used European artists, which is so-called white man, to create the images. And of course, they wouldn't create the images in the likeness of the Messiah if he's a dark skin. That would not show the pride of Esau Edom, wouldn't it? Which lines up with prophecy, his characteristics. This is why they were able to paint and recreate the image of Yahushai and change the name. These artists naturally drew people who looked like themselves. See? Fair skin, blue eyes, straight or wavy hair. Art was heavily tied to cultural identity, not historical accuracy. So they would have removed the historical images and added in their own, so that they can have the land and they could force people to believe in the power that they would have had, which keeps the other nations believing in them rather than the true Jews and the true Israelites. It was a ploy also by the Heavenly Father for a purpose, which is why at this time it's here. It's also used as a stumbling block for those that are on the undesirables, to keep them out of the line of salvation, aka the 2/3. So, as we continue, it says, colonization and ideology, ideologies, right? It says, as Europe colonized much of the world, which we just read, their versions of Yahushua spread globally. One of the main reasons also, for those who don't know, is because during the same time of the Maccabean time, where after Alexander the Great would have passed, before he died, he appointed 4 generals, one being Ptolemy, one being Epiphanes, Antiochus, one being Seleucus, and another one. I can't remember his name. Something. I can't remember his name. Started with a C, I believe. And, matter of fact, let me read into it also. We're not use your own words. Right? First Maccabees 1 verses 5. And after these things, he felt sick and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable and had been brought up with him from the youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died. And his servants bare ruled everyone in his place. And after his death they all put crowns upon themselves, and so did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. And there came out of them a wicked root, which is Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, like I was saying before. There was Ptolemy, there's Lucius, and the Epiphanes, Seleucus. No, I want to go into that again, but the point is dealing with the aspect of the Greek, which Epiphanes would have eventually taken over, and Ptolemy, which took over, I believe, is Egypt and Asia, more so Minor and I think it's Minor, I believe. If when you go into the history, it tells you how much they would have conquered and taken for themselves. So there's an idol, which is why the idol still surrounds today as a familiar image, because this idol goes back and represents Serapis Christos. Serapis is an idol that was created by the European from the Greek mixed to an Egyptian god, which looks exactly like the Messiah today. It's an idol that was created by Ptolemy in the time when Ptolemy was ruling to worship. So they have their own idol god that they would worship, and it looks like a white man with that brunette type hairstyle, long down to his face, mustache, and I believe it's blue eyes, and the same depiction given. Same depiction shown. Understand? Which is, again, same depiction shown. Which is why today you have a more express image in your churches with a more slick style look, blonde hair, or not blonde hair, brownish hair, blue eyes, white man. It's an actual idol. And note, here's the name, Serapis Christos, which is Greek. Translated to Latin, Serapis Christos. And from Latin to I believe it's Greek, Serapis, Egyptian Greek, Serapis Christos, to Latin, which is Iosus Christos, and from Iosus Christos translates down to English mixed with Latin, which is English and Greek mixed with Latin, which would be Jesus Christ. Exactly. So stay tuned until the next lesson. Salat.